Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. My name is Austin Brubaker. I will be your host this afternoon, and I couldn't be more excited to be able to talk to you about the show. This show is going to be a little bit technical and be talking a lot about guys that perhaps you have not heard of a whole lot if you are a Dodgers fan. If you are deep into the Dodgers farm system and you enjoy talking about a lot of the players that we're going to be talking about today, this is going to be a great show for you, but it's going to be a little bit less focused on the overall free agency / trade market. We've done several different shows specifically dedicated to that, or with large portion of shows specifically dedicated to that, and we'll certainly get into that towards the end part of the show. But the Los Angeles Dodgers have some decisions to make over the course of the next 24 hours that are going to be impactful to their roster and impactful to some of the decisions that they could make later in free agency. And what of course I'm talking about is I don't know if it's 4 p.m. or 6 p.m. because there's been conflicting reports on MiLB Pipeline in some of the places that I've looked, whether it's 6 p.m. Eastern. Either way, at some point tomorrow, the Los Angeles Dodgers have to make a determination of the guys that are not protected, not on the 40-man roster, and are eligible for the Rule 5 draft. The Dodgers have to decide whether or not they are going to add those players to the 40-man roster or leave them available to be selected in the Rule 5 draft, which will take place next month on December 10th. And why is this important? Why are we going ahead and talking about the depths of the Dodger system and not just talking about some of the big time moves, the moves that could help with the outfield? Every aspect of your roster, if you're the Dodgers or any other big league organization, matters. It was last year in 2024 when the Los Angeles Dodgers added a person by the name of Jack Dreyer, the Maytag Jack Dreyer, to their roster in this exact same timeline to protect him from the Rule 5 draft. If they had not done so, it is very likely that Jack Dreyer does not get an opportunity to start the season with the Dodgers. It is very likely that he would have been selected in the Rule 5 draft and would not have even been part of this organization, and he played such a critical role in this bullpen, really helped reinforcing and helping the bullpen throughout the entirety of the season. Now, that does not always happen for guys that are protected from Rule 5 status. However, it is a way to continue to reinvest in your roster and continue to add talent to your team to be able to make it as good as it possibly can be. So what we're going to be doing throughout the course of the show today is we're going to be going through a little bit of a Twitter thread or a X thread that I ended up posting and going through a good chunk of the guys that are eligible and giving you a little bit of a background of who these guys are, what are some of the cases as for why the Dodgers should protect them, understanding that it is not likely that the Dodgers are going to protect each one of these guys. We're going through a lot of different guys through the farm system. We did a little bit of this, Casey and I did, on the live stream that we had last Thursday, I believe is what it was. It's the live stream, most recent live stream in which we talked about bullpen arms and who the Dodgers should add from there. The second half in the show was dedicated to this, so some of this is going to be a little bit of repetition, but it's going to be a little bit more statistically inclined, statistically heavy type session. So if you enjoy guys down on the farm, if you enjoy some of the statistics behind why certain players are good, or why there should be a case for the Dodgers to be able to add certain players, we'll be diving into that a lot on the show today. So thank you all for tuning in. History Man, go Dodgers and God bless. Jeffrey Graham, thanks for tuning in. Craig Osterberg here as always. Justin Lamas joining from France, 11:15 p.m. here and just 37 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a little bit warmer than that here in the state of Michigan, although all the snow which we had recently gotten had melted recently. So hopefully that doesn't come super soon, but hopefully you're staying warm, Justin Lamas. Stove is finally heating up. Justin Naylor agreed to return to the Seattle Mariners, and Sammy Boy Smith joining us as well. One additional thing that I want to address and I want to talk about to start off the show before we dive into the Rule 5 draft, guys, is there was a little bit of a roster move that the Dodgers made, and I want to let you guys know where the roster currently stands with the Los Angeles Dodgers. So last night, the Dodgers made a trade, actually. So currently the roster sits at 38 players. Entering yesterday, it was at 39. The reason why it is at 38 is because Robinson Ortiz, left-handed pitcher, was traded to the Seattle Mariners. Now, let's talk a little bit about why Robinson Ortiz was added to the roster in the first place before we dive into Robinson Ortiz and the player that they got in exchange for Robinson Ortiz. So, Robinson Ortiz was selected and added specifically to the Dodgers roster not to protect him from the Rule 5 draft, although he would have been eligible for the Rule 5 draft. Robinson Ortiz was eligible for minor league free agency, which happened about a week or so ago, meaning that the Dodgers added him specifically so that he would not be a free agent. They added him onto the Dodgers roster. Left-handed reliever was going to serve as left-handed reliever depth in the system. They decided to move off of that and traded him to the Seattle Mariners. I think this is probably going to be a better opportunity for Robinson Ortiz going forward. I'm excited about that. In exchange, the Dodgers got a player by the name of Tyler Goff. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not overly familiar with Tyler Goff just because I have not had the opportunity to be able to see him a whole lot. Just a quick note, these are some of the numbers that we are seeing Tyler Goff over the past couple of years. He did miss all of 2025, I believe, with Tommy John surgery or some sort of massive surgery. Don't quote me on that. But has only spent time at the low A level, 2 seasons, 23 and 2024. Former 9th round draft pick by the Mariners. Let's look specifically at his 2024 season. 24 games or 23 starts, 96 and 2/3 innings, 4.28 ERA with a 4.02 FIP. Looking down at the strikeout percentage is about 24% with 11.5 walk percentage. You're not really going to find a whole lot just looking at some of these numbers with Tyler Goff, just trying to understand the type of pitcher that he is. What I will say is the Dodgers are really good at being able to find talent and being able to specifically identify areas in which they can help pitchers or hitters be able to improve. We've seen that with a lot of different targets that they've gone after that seem under the radar in the moment, then all of a sudden, whoa, that guy's really, really good. They did this with River Ryan back in the day when they traded him, I believe, for Matt Beatty. They also did this with Nick Frasso as he was coming up. He was part of the Mitch White and Alex DeJesus trade. They can find, pinpoint, and target guys, especially early in their development, that if you surround them with the coaches, with the Dodgers, their pitching staff, as an organization really solid, you surround Tyler Goff, especially with him coming back from injury, with the Dodgers coaches, I think this is a player that you should be keeping an eye out for. I'm excited personally because this is a guy who could be projected to go to the high A level, which is Great Lakes, which means that if he is in Great Lakes, I will have an opportunity to be able to see him. I don't have much more on the scouting report for Tyler Goff, although if he is in Great Lakes, which is and likely would be the expectation for him going forward, I will have more to report as the season starts. One more note on Robinson Ortiz. I just want to make sure that you guys understand the story that he has, because each player that comes a part of the system has a story. And Robinson's is really unique because it was 2020. He missed a good section of his Dodgers minor league career. If you look at his 2021 through 2024 seasons, which remember, 2020, there was no baseball at the minor league level. 2021 through 2024, he only pitched 22 and 2/3 innings at the minor league level because he was fighting through injuries. And it was Robinson's determination and fight and ability and the talent that he had and the ability that he was able to showcase last year earned him a spot on the Dodgers 40-man roster, earned the opportunity for the Dodgers to say, hey, we're not just going to let this guy go to free agency. We're going to find an opportunity, add him onto the 40-man roster, then find an opportunity that's going to be good for him and good for the Dodgers as well. This was a guy not pitched at all for basically 4 full seasons, ended up turning something into himself, spent years at 3 different levels. If we look at his numbers for Great Lakes, this is actually part of a Twitter thread that I put off, so I'll put this right here. Started off the season with Great Lakes, 3.74 ERA, 3.85 FIP, 28% strikeout percentage, good ground ball percentage. I also was able to convert these into plus statistics. So if you think of WRC plus, 100 is league average. Anything above is above league average. Anything below is below league average. Only because, especially once we get to the Pacific Coast League stats, they are going to be skewed in your perspective of just how good a player actually is. He was above league average, ERA, expected FIP, and really good with a strikeout percentage. But where Robinson Ortiz, which, by the way, this is a little bit of video for Robinson Ortiz, if you're a fan of the Seattle Mariners or if you're a fan of the Dodgers, that's actually me right there, and part of my crew, me, Damino, and Cameron, with our poster, which is in the background of these videos. Once he got up to Tulsa, he had a ton of success with Tulsa. 169 ERA, 233 FIP, 35% strikeout percentage with a really good ground ball percentage, adjusted for league average. All really good for Robinson Ortiz. And then he got promoted to Oklahoma City, 276 ERA with 470 FIP, 526 expected FIP. Seems really high. You look at those comparison to the Pacific Coast League, which is an incredibly hitter-friendly environment. Those are all above league average for Robinson Ortiz. So he's still got a little bit of work that he's got to do to be able to get to the big league ready that he needs to be at. But he's getting really close, and the Mariners got a really good pitcher. Now, when it comes down to the Dodgers, why would the Dodgers trade a pitcher like that? And I think it has to do with the Dodgers and their current situation that they have roster-wise. So, if we look at the Dodgers' overall roster construction, which we're going to go ahead and pull this up right here. We're going to break this down, pitchers and hitters. This is what the Dodgers pitching situation looks like after they moved off of Robinson Ortiz. So you have a lot of guys that can be optional starters or relievers. You also have 8 different, this can be 9 if you include Shohei Ohtani, of guys that are going to be on the big league roster at the start of the season, in part because they can't be optioned, or just because they're good enough to be on the big league roster. Like Emmett Sheehan is not going to spend a day in Oklahoma City, or at least that would be a massive surprise. He is good enough and has earned a spot at the big league level, so you would expect him to be on the MLB roster. Where the Dodgers are at right now is they still have some needs that they need to address, particularly in this bullpen. Right now, the only guy that you can for sure pencil in as a right-handed reliever, still question marks at Rosuke Sasaki, whether he's going to be a starter or reliever. Expectation is him being a starter, and then the returns of River Ryan, Gavin Stone. Not exactly sure what's going on with that. The one guy that you can pencil in for sure right now is Blake Trinan. So the Dodgers still need to add depth as right-handed relievers. They also still have some additions that they need to add either to the outfield or to second base. We talked a little bit about this on the clip that you saw with Brendan Donovan, whether the Dodgers should add Brendan Donovan. He could technically fill both the different holes. But there's a couple of different needs that the Dodgers have. And one of the most valuable things in Major League Baseball is 40-man roster spots. And currently, with the 14 position players and the 24 different pitchers, Shohei Ohtani counts as a position player, 24 plus 14, that's 38 different roster spots that are taken up, meaning that a majority of the roster spots are taken up. So with Robinson Ortiz, where there is some value, but perhaps it might be a little bit more of a project, or maybe he's not quite as big league ready as somebody else. We'll get into left-handed pitching relief depth that the Dodgers might possibly need here in just a minute. Perhaps he just wasn't the exact right guy, and they saw a chance to be able to capitalize on some of the value that Robinson Ortiz had, in addition to him getting an opportunity, which that's all I really ask for with these guys at the farm system. They're great dudes. They deserve to get an opportunity at some point if they earn that opportunity. And a lot of these guys, it is very difficult to earn that opportunity because of the talent that the Dodgers have. So the Dodgers decided to do right, free up a roster spot. The roster now currently sits at 38 players, while also giving Robinson Ortiz an opportunity to be able to succeed. That is the move that the Dodgers made yesterday. There could be additional moves that happen over the course of the next 24 hours, as the Dodgers must make a decision tomorrow in about 24 hours. I don't know if it's 4 or 6 p.m. Eastern. One of those two times, the Dodgers must make a decision and add players to protect them from the Rule 5 draft. And we're going to be going into some of those players here in just a minute. Let's go ahead and get through a couple of different comments before we go ahead and dive into that. Just say hi to some of the people that are in here. Tark the Shark, thank you for joining us. Melva, thank you for joining us. Al Minerva, where do you rank the farm system overall? Very difficult for me to be able to rank the farm system in comparison to others, just because I do not spend a lot of time diving into and investing the other teams' farm system. So I don't think I'm the best person to be able to state that. I am very confident in the Dodgers system overall as a whole, and I think it's a really good thing. Let's see. Justin Lama's repeating a lot of the exact same thing. Ryan Ward was the exact same situation. It's a difficult question as far as whether Ryan Ward is going to end up having the same fate as Robinson Ortiz. So Ryan Ward, like Robinson Ortiz, was not added to the 40-man roster to protect him from the Rule 5 draft. Although he was eligible for the Rule 5 draft, he was specifically added to the Dodgers 40-man roster to protect him from minor league free agency, of which Ryan Ward was very likely to get some sort of pretty solid deal or potentially sign somewhere overseas. Makes that situation a little bit different because Ryan Ward very much is very close to being big league ready, if not already big league ready. So the Dodgers don't want to lose out on that asset. They also want to make sure, and this is my call for the Dodgers, to be able to put Ryan Ward in a situation that's going to be best for him. I do not want to see Ryan Ward continue to have 2-3 more years stuck in Oklahoma City as depth for the Dodgers, and just have him continue to rack out efforts, because he doesn't deserve that as a player, and that's very much limiting his financial incentives. I believe a player on the 40-man roster makes something like $67,000 per year, whereas a major league minimum is closer to $600,000-$700,000, or some sort of contract overseas. For example, with Matt Sauer was able to sign close to a $1 million contract with the KBO. There could have been other opportunities, and serving Ryan Ward just as depth at the minor league level could really hamper his earning potential. So I think if they have Ryan Ward on this roster, there has to be some sort of avenue for him to be able to earn his way onto the big league roster. Does not mean gifting him that opportunity, but to earn that opportunity. So I don't know yet. It's going to be very dependent on what the Dodgers feel is the right move for addressing the offense, whether that's outfielder or a second baseman. Just going into a couple more of these comments right here. V-Track, trade all the prospects when their opportunity rises to address the team needs. Hoarding them doesn't help. Dodgers love hoarding, not using them on the roster. Yes, you still need young talent to be able to come up through the system. And if you don't have to move on to guys, or if guys are not ready, for example, I don't believe it is a wise opportunity to offload everybody who is at the Great Lakes level. Not just because I'm a massive Great Lakes Loons fan. I very much am. But moving off of those guys doesn't necessarily help, because you need guys in the system who are not Rule 5 eligible. One of the great things about the Dodgers outfield prospects, and why they targeted certain guys, not just because of their talent, because a lot of these guys aren't eligible for the Rule 5 draft until after the 2026 or 2027 season. Look up and down each one of the guys that are outfield prospects in the system, or a lot of the guys that you think of the high prospects, like the DePaulas or the Hope or the Quintero or Sirota or George or Earhart or Tibbs, or a lot of these different guys aren't eligible for the Rule 5 draft for quite a while. And for those guys, you want to make sure that, one, you are actually developing those guys and helping them to get to a level. And if they are actually going to be able to help you at the big league level at some point, you want to hold on to some of those pieces. But it is the people that you hold on to as cautionary depth, but really hampering their career, where I could see, yes, hoarding very much is not something that you want to do. So it becomes a wise decision. You need to have influx of young talent, while also not limiting yourself at the big league level and trying to put out the best foot forward. The balance of that is the difficult and tricky part a front office has to deal with. Jeffrey, have fun in math class. We'll watch later. Looking forward to you being able to tune in later. Let me know if there's anything throughout the course of the show that you have. Let's continue to do on a couple of more comments right here. See if we have anything else that we want to go to. Rosman says, Austin, do you go to any Saber events? What ML techniques have you used recently in experimenting with analyzing players, or do you stick with Bays mostly? So with that, I'll talk a little. We won't go dive into the actual in-depth statistical analysis. I haven't attended any Saber events recently. A lot of what I'm doing right now with my research is just collecting information and data as best as possible. I'm very particular in a lot of the ways that I have my data set up before I actually go through the process of conducting statistical analysis, whether that's with any sort of technique that you can use with statistical analysis. Saber events, I just haven't found any that are close to be able to attend to, nor have I really looked into it a whole lot. So that might be something I'll look into a little bit more. Let's get into one or two more comments. Bruce says, I really don't know much Rule 5 draft means. Could you please tell what that means? Yeah, that's a great segue, Bruce. Thank you for telling that to me. So let's dive into a little bit of what the concept of the Rule 5 draft, if you are unfamiliar, is, and then we'll dive into each one of these players. So the Rule 5 draft is something that takes place across Major League Baseball every December. So this is specifically for players at the minor league level who are not earning opportunities. So let's take Ryan Ward for an example. Ryan Ward has been at the AAA level for Oklahoma City for a couple of different years, and he has not received an opportunity to make it to the big league level. Now, there is, and when we're talking about distinction, we have to distinguish between 26 and 40-man rosters. 26-man roster is your major league players, the players that are going to stay on your major league roster. So that is your 26-man roster. So when you see the Los Angeles Dodgers in a game in June, the 26 players on your 26-man roster are all players that can play in that particular game. But it's not just a 26-man roster you have an overall 40-man roster. The 40-man roster includes the 26 players on the Major League roster and an additional up to 14 players that you can have that can be at the minor league level. They could be on the injured list, so on and so forth, just not at the Major League level, which is why it's important to have an influx of minor league depth, because you can't just have 40 Major League players. Some of these guys have to be at the minor league level, which is where options come in. Minor league options are able to come in. So you have the 26-man roster and you have the 40-man roster. But you don't just have 40 players as part of your organization. You have a lot more players than that. There is several different levels of the minor leagues. And players in the minor leagues are searching to find some sort of way to get to the 40-man roster and then eventually to the 26-man roster to get on the 40-man roster, so they're part of the 40 players that the Dodgers could choose from to be on their major league club, and then ultimately to get on the Los Angeles Dodgers on their major league club. So what the Rule 5 draft is particularly targeted is for the players that are not on the 40-man roster and have been around the minor leagues for a long time. These are players that have been a part of the minor leagues for 5 or 6 years. I don't remember exactly what the exact length is. Something like that. They've been around an organization for several different years, and now they're waiting for an opportunity to be able to go and be added to the 40-man roster. So take a roster like the Dodgers. If you look up and down the Los Angeles Dodgers roster, there's not a whole lot of room to where you say, I don't really want this player on the roster. I want to add some sort of minor league player, which will be part of the conversation that we'll have with the Rule 5 draft. But there's not a whole lot of room on the Dodgers roster, which means there could be a lot of talent that is worthwhile to be on other teams' rosters that is stuck at the minor leagues, not at a fault of the player, but at a result. But because the Dodgers just have a whole lot of talent, it is a way to prevent major league teams from hoarding talent from the rest of the league, and an incentive for players at the minor league level to be able to continue to provide your best and provide an opportunity for them to be able to succeed somewhere else. So what the Rule 5 draft does is it takes players that are not on 40-man rosters that have been with an organization for a certain number of years and allows them to be drafted by another major league organization to not their 40-man roster, but their 26-man roster. So take for an example, last year, Garrett McDaniels was taken from the Los Angeles Dodgers roster and was drafted in the Rule 5 draft by the Los Angeles Angels. He was taken from the Dodgers minor league system. He was not on the Dodgers 40-man roster and added to the Angels 26-man roster. So he's added to the Angels 26-man roster, and then he has to stay on that 26-man roster for the entirety of the season. Now, with Garrett McDaniels, he dealt with a little bit of injuries, a couple of bad performances, and then the Angels actually sent him back to the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's a little bit of a brief overview of what the Rule 5 draft is. The Rule 5 draft is an incentive and a way to be able to get some of the players that are stuck in Major League organizations and provide them with an opportunity to be able to go to another major league team and be able to get an opportunity. It's an opportunity incentive thing for minor league players to be able to get opportunities at big league level. I couldn't find an exact phrase to be able to say that, but we'll go ahead and say that. So the Dodgers have to make a decision, because while there's not a whole lot of players that are drafted in the Rule 5 draft, it's typically about 10 to 20 players that are selected in the major league portion of the Rule 5 draft. We won't touch the minor league portion of the Rule 5 draft just because we don't have all the information for the minor league portion of the Rule 5 draft to appropriately cover it. There's about 10 to 20 players that are selected in the major league portion of the Rule 5 draft. And there very well could be Los Angeles Dodgers that are currently in the minor league system that other teams are looking at and saying, we want to go out and get that player. Now, for the Dodgers, if they want to keep that player, or they have some sort of role for them destined in the future. For example, if they have one of the bullpen pitchers that's part of the mix at the minor league level, and he might just need a little bit more tweaking before he's major league ready, and they want to keep him around in the organization for once he is major league ready, then they have to add that player to the 40-man roster by 4 or 6 p.m. tomorrow Eastern Standard Time in order to protect him for the Rule 5 draft. That's a lot of pre-log. What we're going to do is we're actually going to dive into some of the names, and we're going to be diving into some of the stats. So what we have is, this should actually be the pinned post that we have here in the chat. This is also in the channel description. This is a thread that I put on X, formerly known as Twitter, specifically about the Los Angeles Dodgers and some of the players that they have to go over and add to their roster if they want to protect them from these players. Now, certainly, there's 20 different players that I'm going to be going through. There's a list of other players that are eligible for the Rule 5 draft. Not every single one of these players is going to be added to the Dodgers roster. But what I want to say is that each one of these players is incredibly gifted and talented in their own unique way and could help not just the Dodgers, but any other organization with the gifts and talents that they have. It is going to be a question mark as to whether the Dodgers or other organizations have room on their roster and they see a unique fit to be able to add them to the mix. But these are going to be the players that we're going to be talking about. It's not an exact order of how I would rank these, although a first couple, just talking specifically about fit with the Dodgers roster or uniqueness in their profile and statistics, is what we're going to highlight. So these are going to be 20 different players Dodgers must make a decision on by tomorrow at 6 p.m. or 4 p.m. Eastern to protect them from the Rule 5 draft. So first player that we're going to be talking about, we'll get into highlights in just a minute, just because I have a couple of different highlights of some of these guys. The player that we talk about quite a bit, and probably one of the players that I have tweeted about the most, Jose Rodriguez. Jose Rodriguez is it's between a starter and reliever. He's done both. He's transitioned a little bit more to a relief pitcher, but he really broke out into the seams this year. Even though the ERA numbers do not look pretty, look deeper, and what you will find is a unique pitcher with a lot of great characteristics. He has some of the best swing and miss stuff in all of minor league baseball. What we're going to do, we're actually going to not look at these 12 innings that he had in Tulsa, which he just got promoted at the beginning of the season to Tulsa. Even though he had an ERA of 8 in Tulsa, you look at all the underlying metrics, and it was we got to promote this guy to Oklahoma City. The Dodgers said that. That's not me saying that. That's the Dodgers saying, yeah, this guy's good enough. We need to promote him to Oklahoma City. In 42 innings pitched, with Oklahoma City last year. Jose Rodriguez, T-Boo, just as a nickname for him, T-Boo, had a 17.0 swinging strike percentage. Swinging strike percentage, if you are unfamiliar, is a statistic that tells you the number of swings and misses that you are able to get divided by the number of pitches that you throw. So every single time you throw a pitch, what percentage does that end up being a swing and miss? And with Jose Rodriguez, that was a 17% swinging strike percentage. That was in the 99th percentile in all of AAA pitching. 99th percentile, you take all the pitchers 40 innings or more, his swinging strike percentage was among the very best in minor league baseball. This also came with a 33.7 strikeout percentage, 97th percentile in all of AAA baseball, 19.5 strikeout minus walk percentage, 187 strikeout minus walk percentage plus if you want to adjust that for Pacific Coast League average stats. And then for his ERA, it's more of a 4.7 in Oklahoma City. That does not tell you the whole story, because the league average ERA in the Pacific Coast League is like 5.5, 5.6, which means that his ERA was 13% better than the league average Pacific Coast League pitcher. What I have is a little bit of a full breakdown in this tweet that I have right here. Again, the link to this full thread is in the comments description. This is a little bit of video that we have for Jose Rodriguez right here. You can see some of the pitches that he's able to have. What's really unique about Jose Rodriguez is he's able to get a lot of swings and misses, particularly on his changeup. His changeup is really, really good. He's able to mix a lot of different pitches to be able to go well. This is just a small sample of his, plate appearance that he had during his season this past year. Let's just go ahead and fast forward to the last pitch. All of this is courtesy MiLB TV. You can go ahead and subscribe there to be able to get this. He's able to get the strikeout right there to get the final out of the game. Jose Rodriguez, again, a unique swing ability to be able to get swing and miss stuff, which when we're talking about this unique ability and to this degree, the 99th percentile swinging strike percentage and the 97th percentile in strikeout percentage, that is incredibly rare to find a pitcher like that, which means that I am not the only one that is seeing these statistics. There are major league front offices that are seeing these exact same statistics as well and are looking at Jose Rodriguez, T-Boo, and saying that could be a pitcher that they want. If the Dodgers want to protect Jose Rodriguez, they have to make a determination by tomorrow as to whether or not to add Jose Rodriguez to the roster. He is somebody that is absolutely electric. Changeup is no joke. So good as a pitch. And he's got a really unique arsenal, and he's done a lot of things really well. There's a full breakdown of him that I posted on the 14th of November. I checked that one out. This one is just going to be some small, just a little bit of breakdown and stuff at that. So actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and go to this section right here. Let's get some other stats and stuff on him. Swinging strike percentage, again. This is looking at some of the standings of the AAA pitchers. This is the strikeout percentage of the Pacific Coast League. Looking at his Pacific Coast League stats right here. These are his numbers. He had a really poor start to Oklahoma City, but these are his numbers from June 1st to September 5th. He did end the season injured, so I don't know what his status is right there. But in his last 32 innings in Oklahoma City, 3.09 ERA, which if you know anything about Pacific Coast League environment, that's really, really good. 3.22 FIP. No home runs giving up during the latest portion of his career. T-Boo, 40-man roster situations right here. Jose Rodriguez, really good pitcher. Very well could be worthy of being added to the Dodgers roster. There's player number one. Then we're going to go to player number two. And this is one that during the previous show, I had a little bit of a question mark as to whether or not he was actually eligible for the Rule 5 draft again. That's Garrett McDaniels. And we have confirmation here at Dodgers Daily with a source that says Garrett McDaniels absolutely is eligible for the Rule 5 draft again. Now, why would the Dodgers protect a player who was taken in last year's Rule 5 draft, but was then immediately returned from the Los Angeles Angels to the Dodgers after he had about 10 or so innings pitched with the Angels. Why would the Dodgers want to add Garrett McDaniels, and is he worthy to be able to add to this Dodgers roster? Let's look at some of the numbers of Garrett McDaniels, particularly when he returned from Oklahoma City to the Angels. So he had 30 innings pitched in Oklahoma City after returning from the Angels. During that time period, he had a 3.30 ERA in the Pacific Coast League, 39% above league average as a pitcher. He also had a 28.3 strikeout percentage. Really, really solid for Garrett McDaniels. And this is going to be something that's going to be really important to the argument as to why the Dodgers should protect Garrett McDaniels. A 65.2 ground ball percentage, which was in the 99th percentile in all of AAA. Which means that, and we're going to cut over to me for just a second to be able to explain this. With Garrett McDaniels, you have a pitcher, a left-handed arm, somebody that you can add to your roster and be an optionable arm that's a left-handed pitcher that has the ability to get strikeouts at an above-average rate. A 28% strikeout percentage from the left-handed side of the mound is absolutely no joke. We're actually going to get some of those numbers in just a second as I pull up what his numbers were adjusted for league average. That was 31% better than the league average pitcher. Just combining all the different pitchers with 30 with the Pacific Coast League numbers taken into account. You also take into account his ground ball percentage. So he's able to get swing and miss. He's also able to get ground balls at a really good, unique mix. This is Garrett McDaniels right here. This is some of the footage that actually Casey was able to get of Garrett McDaniels right here from right behind home plate. Able to get strikeouts a lot. He's also able to get a good amount of ground balls. He's a really good pitcher at being able to do that. Here are the AAA leaderboards of ground ball percentage that you can see right there. Garrett McDaniels towards the top. And this is going to be really important. Now, this is a little bit out to date because this was pre-Robinson Ortiz trade. But if you look at the Dodgers roster as to optionable left-handed pitchers, meaning guys that can be sent down to the minor leagues, you currently have two options, Justin Robleski and Jack Dreyer. Meaning, if you need depth on your system for left-handed relievers that can go ahead and even be guys that can be optioned back down to the minor league level, if you are in need or want some of those guys, it is very difficult to find an option that could be better than a Garrett McDaniels. He has a unique mix of being able to get strikeouts as well as ground balls. Really good pitcher. Glad that he's back in the organization. Good mix of stuff. He is somebody that I'm very much intrigued to see if the Dodgers are going to protect. In similar vein, the Dodgers could use some talent for left-handed relievers that are optionable guys. Another one that is part of this mix that is eligible is Ronan Kopp. Now, to be fair, Ronan Kopp isn't the complete player quite yet, meaning they still has trouble at times throwing strikes. His walk percentage absolutely is way too high still. It sits at 15, 16, 17%. But he has a unique ability to be able to get strikeouts. And we're going to go over this in just a second. He spent split time between Tulsa and Oklahoma City. In Tulsa, 140 ERA plus, 141 FIP plus. He was a lot better than the league average Texas league pitcher. And then this is something that's really key. 36.2 strikeout percentage, which was the best in the Texas league with pitchers that threw at least 30 innings. Ronan Kopp was the best strikeout pitcher in AA, or at least in the Texas league, I should say. Very, very good. Moved up to Oklahoma City. Again, it succeeded. 116 ERA plus, 134 FIP, nearly a 36% strikeout percentage, 97th percentile in all of AAA for pitchers that threw at least 30 innings, I believe is what it is. Here's a little bit of video with Ronan Kopp. And this is the big thing with Ronan. He has got legit stuff to be able to go out there and dominate and have a lot of success. it really is all about execution for him and being able to tweak a lot of small things to his game. Is he able to go ahead and throw more strikes, a little bit more consistency? Is he able to go ahead and limit some of the time that it takes to be able to get him to home plate, which, if you saw the interview that Casey had with AAA pitching coach Dave Anderson, in which he actually goes into detail on the three guys that I am mentioning right now and some of the guys that I mentioned further down the line, he actually mentions that Ronan Kopp got a little bit better and showed some times where he was quicker to home plate, a little bit closer to a 1-4 instead of a 1-6 that he had been in the past. Ronan Kopp is making a lot of improvements, and his raw stuff that he has, which you can see by his ability to be able to get swings and misses and strikeouts, is rare in this system. Again, best strikeout percentage in the Texas League. If he is able to maintain a little bit of control, if he's able to get his walk percentage down just a little bit and continue to work in the system, Ronan Kopp, especially if he makes improvements like he did, massive improvements from 2024 to 2025, could be one of the best value plays that you could add to the system, knowing that he's not completely ready yet, but after a little bit more tweaking, he could be not just good, but dominant. He has the stuff to be able to be a dominant pitcher. Next guy that we're going to be talking about is Gator, Austin Gauthier. Austin Gauthier, when we're talking about him, and we're going to talk to, actually, let's go ahead, give me just a second, because what we're going to do is we're going to pull up the Dodgers roster before we get into this, because I think this is important to point out, because Austin Gauthier is unique in some of his abilities that he has, specifically because of his past history of versatility. So if we look at the Dodgers roster right now, currently there are 14 position players on the roster. Now, this is the core position players: Ohtani, Smith, Betts, Edman, Freeman, Muncy, Teo, Pages, and then rushing right now. Those are 9 projected to be on the roster. But you also have a couple of guys that are, or could be, added to your big league roster. Guys like a Ha-Seong Kim and Alex Call. Alex Call very likely to be on the MiLB roster based on how much he played in the past seasons. Alex Freeland or Ryan Ward. Now, this is not to say that the Dodgers are going to have each one of these guys at the MiLB level, but it is very possible, depending on your stance of whether or not you want to bring back guys like a Miguel Rojas or a Kike Hernandez, what is going to be more valuable for the Dodgers? To bring back Kike or Miguel Rojas, or have some playing time set up for Ha-Seong Kim and Alex Freeland on the MLB roster? Or are you going to use them as depth at the AAA level? If you are planning to have Alex Freeland and Ha-Seong Kim, or either of those guys, at the MLB level for a majority of the season, and you want to create opportunities at the big league level for some of these guys to be able to go out there and have some success, what that is likely going to require is you to have some additional depth at the minor league level. This is in a scenario where the Dodgers are not keeping both of Miguel Rojas and Kike Hernandez, keeping one of them, and they perhaps might need some additional depth with their infield, with some of the versatility that they have. If that is the case, Austin Gauthier is one of those players that they very well could turn to because of his past history of versatility, of which he's played second base, third base, shortstop, left field, and right field within the past 2 or 3 seasons. Last year it was almost exclusively at second base, but still has a past history of versatility. His ability to move around different positions could be exactly what the Dodgers need to add additional depth to the system. And while looking at the overall season numbers, look around league average, he is and has a track record of really good success at the minor league level, consistently putting up well above league average numbers, which is so impressive from a guy that went undrafted out of Hofstra. And he got back to himself after the All-Star break and was completely different from the player that spent the first year and a half or so in Oklahoma City. Gators might be back. And if Gator is back, it is hard to find players that have his skill set, that Gator has. Post All-Star break for Austin Gauthier, 214 plate appearances, 305, 458 on base percentage with a 402 slugging, 136 WRC plus, 22.4 walk percentage post All-Star break. Even if you look at the entirety of last season, Austin Gauthier had the highest walk percentage in all of AAA baseball with at least 300 plate appearances, and it was by like 2%. He can generate walks like nobody else, and the Dodgers value that skill set. And it's not that just he draws walks, because there's a lot of guys that draw walks, but swing and miss a lot. Austin Gauthier's strikeout percentage is sub 20%. It was, during this stretch, 17.4% post All-Star break. He can be a really good player at being able to being able to draw walks, being able to do a lot of good things well. And one of the things that is really impressive about Austin Gauthier, it's his ability to be able to hit it opposite field. This is an example of him hitting opposite field. That is where he has a lot of success. Not a whole lot of power with Austin Gauthier, but versatility combined with the ability to be able to generate walks without a lot of swing and miss. There could conceivably be, depending on what the Dodgers' plans are, a need to add a player like Gator. And with somebody who's spent a lot of time at the AAA level, he could be somebody that is valuable for other organizations. And if the Rule 5 draft, a lot of it is about anticipating who other teams are going to value and covet, Gator is a really extraordinary and good player to be able to add to the mix. Next player they're going to be talking about, we're going to be starting going a little bit quicker just because I don't have all the time in the world to be able to do this, although I wish I have. Next player that we're going to be talking about, again, these are not in any specific order, but next player we're going to be talking about is Peter Hubeck. Now, Peter Hubeck did miss part of the second half of the season. It was, I believe, mid-July or so. He went out and did not return the rest of the season. I don't really know what that's about, but he has starter stuff. And he was been able to get a lot of strikeouts consistently throughout his career. Strikeout percentage by year, this is throughout the entirety of minor league career, 29.5%, 29.6% in 2022. 2023, it was about 28.5%. Last year, about 30%. 2025, 27.7%. He has gone up and done really well, especially with his ability to get strikeouts. 4.37 ERA, 4.02 FIP, and a 66 and a third innings in Tulsa. He's got a really good mix, especially that curveball that Peter Hubeck is able to have. Really good. This is an example of some of the strikeouts that he had during one of his performances. And with Peter Hubeck, he has really solid upside as well. I believe there is 2 instances where he was Texas League Player of the Week because of the performances that he had. This is of one example of which was the case. You can see slider that he's able to generate. Fastball is solid for him. What's really cool about him and the guy that we're going to be talking about next, they both have really solid curveballs as well, or balls that are able to have the appearance like curveball, like that one right there. Peter Hubeck is somebody, especially if you're looking to protect starters for the future, and as some of the guys that are currently starters in your system are starting to lose some of their minor league options, adding somebody like Peter Hubeck could be worthwhile for the Dodgers or another organization to add the talent that he has. Going on next, we're going to be talking about Jared Karros. Now, frankly, Jared Karros did not have a good 2025 season. It was an outlier of a season by his standards that he had. And you could tell that it was an outlier of the season because he ended the season injured and I believe I think it's Tommy John surgery. I don't know exactly if that's the case. I believe I saw that posted somewhere on X. He had some sort of season-ending surgery that kept him out, and it was a rough 2025 season. But when he is healthy, Jared Karros is a really good pitcher. I don't want that to be forgotten, just his history of dominance. Here is ERA by level in 2023 with Rancho. Get a 3.95 ERA. Rancho, a little bit more hitter-friendly environment. Then he went to Great Lakes, and this is where I had the chance to see him. He was absolutely dominant.
.69 ERA in 2023. This does not include the starts that he had in the postseason, which were really good, especially his start or his appearance. I can't remember if it was the start that he had against Fort Wayne was really good. He also, and this is a story that I tell with Jared Karros, if you know Jackson Jobe, pitcher for the Detroit Tigers, injured right now, but really good prospect coming up. Jared Karros and Peter Hubeck were the guys that outdueled Jackson Jobe twice in the scale in a span of a week to eliminate the Whitecaps. It was Jared Karros and Peter Hubeck went, and they just had been called up to Great Lakes that did that. 2024, 1.59 ERA in Great Lakes before they called him up to Tulsa with a 4.01 ERA. He also, obviously, son of Eric Karros, Dodgers legend. This was a really cool moment for Jared Karros with his father on the call. Jared, once he's back, once he is healthy, really, really good pitcher. They're going to have to make a decision of whether another team's going to take a chance on him now. I wouldn't anticipate it just because of the injury and the struggles of 2025, but still a really solid pitcher that you need to know about. Next guy that we're going to be talking about, Noah Miller, infielder. He is so good defensively. So good defensively. I don't think you guys understand just how good of a defender he is. He also had a really good rebound. So Noah Miller started the season 24 with Great Lakes. Eventually got called up to Tulsa, and it was a struggle for Noah Miller getting adapted to the AA level. But he rebounded really well this year, or in 2025 in Tulsa. 291, 336, 369, 103 WRC plus, about a 5.5 walk percentage with a 21.6 strikeout percentage. Noah Miller was able to rebound. Got moved up to Oklahoma City after, I believe, starting the year on the injured list, if I remember correctly. Struggled a little bit hitting at the Oklahoma City level. But you don't need much with the bat to be able to get the value of defense that he's able to provide. Because I want you guys to look at some of these plays with Noah Miller. There's a great play defensively that he consistently is able to produce. Here's another one of these plays with Noah Miller defensively at shortstop. With Mookie Betts being a really solid shortstop, there isn't as much of a need for Noah Miller at this point. But the question is, how much longer can that be? And do the Dodgers believe that they can get enough out of the bat with Noah Miller to protect him and have him be some sort of shortstop long term, especially if they want to utilize somebody like an Alex Freeland in some sort of trade negotiations? If that is the case, Noah Miller could be an option that they turn to. Again, incredibly gifted defensively at the shortstop position. It is all about the bat. If he's able to get a little bit with the bat, he's going to provide value. That is Noah Miller. Next guy that we're going to be talking about is somebody that I think is completely underrated on this list. And it's because he, like some of the other guys mentioned, missed the second half of the season. But do not forget about the name Lucas Wepp. Lucas Wepp is a right-handed reliever in the Dodgers system. And he is, as I described in this post, fiercely competitive. You can see it, especially with him on the mound. He is, when he takes the ball, especially late in the game, in a close late inning environment, he's about as locked in as anybody, and he shows that on the field. But it's not just that he's as locked in as anybody. He also is incredibly solid as a pitcher. 2025 stats, which if you look back at previous stats, his strikeout percentage is even better than some of these stats, and some of the underlying metrics are somewhat even better than these stats. 2.79 ERA, 2.93 FIP, about a 30.5% strikeout percentage. Walk percentage a little high, 13.5%, but you will take that with the 31% strikeout percentage and a 15.7 swinging strike percentage. He has a long history of getting strikeouts. He has a unique mix of strikeouts plus the delivery that he has. We're gonna go ahead and look a little bit at Lucas Wepp from when he was at Great Lakes. I don't know where exactly that video went. We'll go ahead and pull up this video in just a minute. I don't know exactly what happened to the video, but you guys got to see some of the unique mix that Lucas Wepp is able to generate, because he is a really, really fun pitcher. Again, able to get a lot of swings and misses, able to get a lot of things done really well. I don't know if we're going to be able to get the video of Lucas Webb, but if you're looking for some sort of name to be able to keep an eye out for, somebody that you might not completely expect, that I might not completely expect, Lucas Webb, under the radar addition for a team that's looking for a right-handed reliever. Continuing on with some of these, what we're going to do is one of Casey's favorite players and one of my favorite players as well, a person that's been in the system for quite a long time, Antonio Knowles, or as Casey described him, the spin doctor. His slider, as we mentioned consistently, is really good for Antonio Knowles, and he had a lot of success at Tulsa, the AA level of the Dodgers this past season. 3.18 ERA, 3.05 FIP, 28.5% strikeout percentage, walk percentage, sub 8%, with a 16.1 swinging strike percentage, which is very well above league average. He made a lot of strides this past year. He's been Rule 5 eligible, I believe, last year. I don't know the previous year, but he's been at AA for quite a while. Earned his way up to the AAA level. Not a whole lot of experience at the AAA level, but he's earning his way up the ranks, and his slider is absolutely legit, as you can see right there. And he throws that pitch quite a bit because he very well should throw that pitch quite a bit with what he's able to do. And that slider just is able to get a ton of swing and miss, whether that's tailing away from right-handed hitters or downing in, as you saw, to left-handed hitters. That is his best pitch that he's able to have, and he rode that to a ton of success this past year. Antonio Knowles, when I was going back through some of the numbers, I didn't realize, just because I didn't watch him to the degree I did when he was in Great Lakes, I didn't realize how good of a season he had. And if he has a good season at Tulsa, it's a very short step up to the major leagues. Antonio Knowles is Rule 5 draft eligible. Dodgers have to make a decision on him coming up shortly. Next person that the Dodgers have to make a decision about is one of the more toolsy guys in the system, Chris Newell. Newell is dynamic and has a lot of loud tools. He has a past history of being able to play a lot of different positions in the outfield. I think a little bit more at the corners, although he's played center field, at least when he was at Great Lakes. The thing about him is he has in his bat a lot of power, and he actually had a lot of good success in Tulsa this past season. 241, 246, 428 slugging percentage, 119 WRC plus. That came with 20 home runs. The year before he had, I think, close to 25 to 30 home runs. 187 ISO, which was 44% better than the league average. He walks a lot, close to 14%. This is the biggest thing with Chris Newell, is he able to make enough consistent contact? There is a lot of swing and miss in his game, but he's a very good power speed guy that has had a lot of success at the big league level, and the power is legit. This is one example of Chris Newell being able to hit for some power. If it can load consistently, some of these have been loading a little bit weird, but you can see that hitting it pretty far to the depths in right field. Chris Newell, big time power, had a lot of success, 119 WRC plus. If he's still in the Dodgers system, I would anticipate him being one of those guys that's going to be an outfielder in Oklahoma City, and he's just one step away from the big league level. A lot of talented outfielders in the system. Chris Newell gets overlooked quite a bit, but he's very good still. Power, speed type of guy. Tools are very much off the chart for him. And then we go into Damon Keith. Now, Damon Keith had a disappointing 2025 season. I think he would probably tell you that. Just a 91 WRC plus. He's one of these guys that puts up really solid exit velos. And he's still, if you go back and look at his 2024 numbers, was really good for Damon Keith. 2024 when he was in Tulsa, which he repeated at Tulsa this past season, 259, 340, 496 with a 135 WRC plus and a 238 ISO. That type of bat is still very much in there for a Damon Keith, who still has all of the tools available. He's faster than what you would anticipate. There's Damon Keith being able to walk off. I believe this was an example of him having 2 walk-offs in the course of a week or something very close to each other. Damon Keith has a lot of power. He's got a lot of clutch factor. He's fast, and I think there is a lot more to his game than what we saw in the 2025 season. fast forward to 2026, I think we're going to see some really good things from Damon Keith as he continues to fight to the system. Again, underlying metrics really solid for Damon. Next pitcher that we're going to go to, Ryan Sublette. He has been at the AAA level for the past year and a half or so. He's got a really unique slot in delivery, and he's really gaining a lot more confidence. Numbers on the surface don't look necessarily great, but you adjust them for league average. 107 ERA plus, 97 FIP plus. So right around league average as a pitcher, 21% strikeout percentage. A little bit above league average at a swinging strike percentage. The stuff is unique, as you can see with some of his arm slot in this video that we have right here. Comes from a really unique angle, and he has been somebody that has been high on the list for the Dodgers for quite a while, just continuing to go and find and progress his way through the system. He's not somebody that I'm anticipating being protected, but if the Dodgers can really help him be able to throw strikes a little bit more, again, 15% walk percentage is too high. If he can get a little bit more execution with some of the uniqueness that he has, he can be really effective. I've seen him be a really effective pitcher in the past. He can be going forward as well. Next day, we're going to be talking about Roque Gutierrez. Gutierrez started off with an absolute tear in Great Lakes, which included this finishing off the 7th inning of a 7-inning no-hitter for the Loons. Him and Eric Swan combined for a no-hitter in Great Lakes this past season. But he's not just a one-inning guy. He's a bulk pitcher. And especially at the high A level, he was able to showcase just how good he was able to pitch in bulk. 39 innings with Great Lakes, 3.46 ERA, 3.16 expected FIP, with a 32% strikeout percentage and a near 18 swinging strike percentages. Now, that number did drop off once he made the jump to Tulsa. He was promoted about halfway through the season, and I think there's still development that he needs to have as a player, so I'm not anticipating Roque Gutierrez to be selected in the Rule 5 draft, nor the Dodgers protecting him. But this is an arm that you have to keep an eye out for going into 2026, because if we talk very highly, and I very much do, about Jose Rodriguez having really high swinging miss stuff and a really high swinging strike percentage, Roque Gutierrez could be on a similar path if he's able to get back to his form that he had in Great Lakes. This is the conclusion to the final out. I was actually here at this for the Great Lakes Loons finishing off their second career no-hitter in franchise history, or second career no-hitter of at least 7 innings or more. Roque Gutierrez finished it off. I was in the audience for that. That was pretty sweet to be able to watch that. Next pitcher that we're going to talk about, Casey is really high on this guy, just like I am, Jeremy Rosario. And what's difficult to be able to tell about a lot of these guys is the numbers don't tell the complete story. Oftentimes you have to actually watch these guys pitch, and I have the fortunate opportunity throughout the years to be able to watch a lot of these guys either by the Loons dugout or behind home plate. And Jeremy Rosario is somebody who very much is impressive, has a past history of being starter, kind of converted a little bit more to a relief role. Here are his numbers in Tulsa this past season: 79 innings pitched, 4.67 ERA, 4.29 FIP, 24% strikeout percentage, good ground ball percentage, about 46%. He's had a past history of success. This is one of his outings in the Arizona Fall League, I believe 24 or 23, one of those years in which he had 3 innings, 7 strikeouts against some of the best prospects in the game that were sent to the Arizona Fall League. The upside in performances is there for Jeremy Rosario. It's a little bit more hit or miss as far as whether he's on, but if he's able to build that more consistency, Jeremy Rosario is an incredible pitcher, really, really good pitcher, part of the system. Dodgers got to make a decision on him coming up. Next guy we're going to be talking about, another one that Casey is really high on, just like I am, Kyle Nevin, son of Phil Nevin, former Major League player and former manager of the Los Angeles Angels. He went off, and it was about a league average season for Kyle in 24 with Great Lakes, just by WRC plus numbers. He came back after starting the season on the injured list with the Loons and just went insane, just went bonkers. 157 WRC plus, 76 plate appearances with Great Lakes. They sent him right up to Tulsa. At Tulsa, 271, 335, 387, around to a little bit above league average for Kyle Nevin in Tulsa. 9.5% walk percentage, 23% strikeout percentage. His ISO in Tulsa is only 116, but that does not describe the power that Kyle Nevin has. This is an example that I was able to see when he was in Wisconsin. I'm actually sitting behind home plate, right behind Kyle Nevin. This is one of the most impressive home runs that I have seen by a player hit, and this was in Wisconsin in 2024 with Kyle Nevin. This is the type of power that he has. Look at that right there, and what I want you to see, that is the home run go right, land all the way over there. We're going to go ahead and replay this in just a second. We'll go ahead and back it up a little bit. This light tower. This hit probably 3/4 of the way up the light tower. That was good 15 to 20 feet past the outfield wall at least. And Kyle Nevin hit it that far past it. He has big time power in his bat and is able to do a lot of good things right. Kyle Nevin is a really good player. And again, we talk a lot about Dodgers needing to get younger and some of the depth problems that they potentially had. One of the things that they're going to need in the future is finding an answer at third base with Max Muncy moving on at some point in the season. Keep an eye out for a player like a Kyle Nevin. Not saying that the Dodgers are going to add him to protect him in the Rule 5 draft this year, but if he has a really good year like he broke out with Great Lakes, he very well could add himself to the mix as players that could be guys that could be some of the air to some of the holes that the Dodgers have. Next guy we're going to be talking about, Chris Campos. Very reliable and incredibly consistent arm in the system. He's got a really long track record of putting up really solid numbers. He's somebody who, unlike a lot of the guys in the system, doesn't walk a whole lot of guys. Just a 6% walk percentage and 126 and 2/3 innings with Tulsa. Numbers on the surface, 4.19 ERA, 3.86 FIP, 21% strikeout percentage, about a 15% strikeout minus walk percentage, and then in 2024, 3.43 ERA between Great Lakes and Tulsa. You look at these numbers year in and year out, and you don't think of Chris Campos as a guy that you would consistently turn to, but he's somebody who has built himself a bit of a track record of success. And pitched a little bit during spring training this past year. In case you watched a lot of the spring training games, this was one of the guys that showed up, and he's been really solid. If you're looking for consistency, reliability, and perhaps a little bit more or less walks than what we see sometimes from some of the Dodgers pitchers, Chris Campos very much is your guy. Friend of the show, really good dude, and really solid and reliable. That would be the main term that I would put to somebody like Chris. Next guy we're going to talk about, we're not going to dive into really the numbers with this guy. This was the other guy that I had a big question about whether or not he was eligible for the Rule 5 draft, Nick Destrini. Now, Nick Destrini, you might remember because he was actually part of, I believe, the Joe Kelly trade with the Chicago White Sox back in the 2023 season. He was part of the Dodgers organization and the system for a couple of years and started to build himself up and have a lot of success. Strikeout percentages were in the high 20s or low 30s. Got sent out to the White Sox, ended up making his big league debut, struggled a little bit the past couple of seasons, ended up coming back to the Dodgers system. Now, this is not to say that Nick is ready to take on the mantle and be added to the big league roster, but you add him to the mix of players that are part of the Dodgers organization. You add him back to his coaches that he's familiar with, that helped him get to the level of success that he had. And Nick Destrini, there still is a really good pitcher in there. Look at that changeup that Destrini was able to generate. There's a reason why the White Sox went out and tried to acquire Nick Destrini. It is because the talent level is there for Nick. He is Rule 5 eligible. Be a question to see whether or not the Dodgers actually add him. Now we're going to go into, for the final three breakdowns, we're going to go into a run of 3 different catchers that are Rule 5 draft eligible. The first one we got to talk about is Nelson Quiros. Nelson Quiros had his breakout season thus far in 2025. Just spectacular between Great Lakes and Tulsa when he was healthy. 206 plate appearances, 333 batting average, 393 on base percentage, and a 441 slugging. That's a 140 WRC plus for Nelson Quiros. If you are not super in deep with the Dodgers system, you might look at a player like a Nelson Quiros and say, how do they have this guy? How have we never heard of this guy? That's 40% above league average as a hitter. That's what Nelson Quiros was able to do from the catching position, and what's unique about him is he is a catcher that does not swing and miss hardly at all. It's about 8.7 walk percentage between his 2 stops, and also an 8.7 strikeout percentage. Very unique for a player like Nelson Quiros. This is an example of him having a day where he had 2 doubles. There is some power, and you can see that he does swing hard, and there's still a little bit in there. He doesn't get it in game quite as much, but what he does do really well, especially hitting the ball between the shortstop and third base hole, being able to draw consistent strikeouts. This is a little bit of an example of Nelson Quiros as a batter and some of the swings that he's able to generate. This was a really good day for Nelson Quiros. Nelson Quiros, great year for him. He's a catcher that's Rule 5 draft eligible. Next one, friend of the program, GLP, Griffin Lockwood Powell, continued his progression with Tulsa, started to make some improvements in his second year at Tulsa. Here's 2025 stats: 226, 350 on base percentage with a 326 slugging percentage. About league average as a hitter, 100 WRC plus. Not as much power as we've seen in the past in game, but Griffin Lockwood Powell definitely has 15 to 20 home run power and potential playing full time. What was really good about this year, though, is he was able to walk a lot more, near 16% walk percentage, while also not swinging and missing a whole lot, about a 20% strikeout percentage. He draws walks consistently. He can do a lot of good things well, and he can play the catching position, and he can play a pretty good first base as well. This is just a couple of examples that we have with GLP, or just one example that we have of him getting a base hit. Power is definitely there in his bat. Is he able to generate that in game? Still working through, continuing his progression. The versatility is a really cool part of his game. And what's really cool is they have a catcher who's also a second baseman and can play the infield. That's Yainer Fernandez. Really good dude. Very good clubhouse dude. Continued with his second season in Tulsa. He's got rare versatility for a catcher, which in the game of baseball, especially if you're looking for somebody who you have some question marks of some of your catchers, or perhaps you want to play 2 catchers on a more regular basis, having somebody with uniqueness and versatility, not just catcher and first base, but catcher and second base, catcher and third base. Yainer Fernandez has the ability to be able to do that. Second season in Tulsa wasn't the greatest season for him this year. Not a big power guy, very much more of a contact guy. 251, 331, 303 slugging, 87 WRC plus, near 9% walk percentage, and a 11% strikeout percentage. What I want to show you is his athleticism and ability to play the second base position. The play that you're about to see is from the Midwest League Championship Game 1, Great Lakes versus Cedar Rapids in 2023. This is the athleticism that Yainer Fernandez is able to have. Look at that diving play by Yainer, throwing to first base. That is a catcher that made that play. Yainer Fernandez, athletic, can do a lot of really good things well. It was debating between this play or the hit that he had in Game 2, I believe is what it was. But this athleticism that he's able to generate, combined with the person that he is, makes for a really good, unique skill set. Now, in Twitter, in X, they're limited on some of the names or how long some of your posts are supposed to be. Plus, I didn't have a whole lot of time to be able to put a lot of this stuff together. I had a little bit of time to be able to invest. These are some of the other names that you need to know about that are Rule 5 draft eligible. Some of the names include Sam Carlson, Christian Romero, Jacob Metter, Brandon Neek, Kelvin Ramirez, Livan Reynoso, Maddox Bruns, Ronaldo Yane, Sean McLean, John Rhodes, Taylor Young, Jesus Galiz, Frank Rodriguez, Eliezer Alfonso, Jose Hernandez, and Jose Mesa. All of those guys are really good as well. It was a very difficult time being able to break down 20 of these guys. And that's not to say that the 20 guys that were chosen are better than any of the guys that are not on the list. That is not what I'm trying to do with any sort of this. What I'm trying to do is trying to highlight guys that have a unique potential fit onto the roster. Whether this is relief arms that are pitching at the upper level of the system, whether these are guys that have excelled in unique ways, or guys that potentially could be some fits, whether they fit into as a utility player like Gator, or somebody who could fit in more as an outfielder. There's a need for an outfielder like Chris Newell and Damon Keith. Or you could always potentially use more depth at the catching situation, in which the Dodgers currently only have 2 catchers on their 40-man roster. There's a lot of really good players on this mix. Again, the link to this entire thread, which we just went into in depth, is linked in the description. I'm overjoyed and privileged to see the response that it has had from a lot of people to be able to take off and be able to highlight a lot of these different pieces. So I thank you for tuning in and being able to look into that. Very highly encourage you to be able to look into that a little bit further, because the Dodgers have a very difficult choice. They currently only have 2 open roster spots on their roster to be able to add from this list of really good players, really good human beings, really good dudes. The Dodgers have to make a choice. Are they going to add some of these guys? How many of these guys could they potentially add? And if they do add some of these guys, who should they target? And that makes it really difficult to me. With this decision that the Dodgers have, I think it is very unlikely that they're going to go more than 2 or 3 of these guys. I would be very surprised if they go with 3 of these guys. I think it's more likely that they probably go with 1 or 2 of these guys to be able to protect, only because there are decisions that they have to make continuing on the roster. And there's not really a whole lot of guys that you can look on the current active roster that you would go ahead and move off from. Again, looking at the current roster for the Dodgers, this is the position player core. Perhaps you would look at somebody like maybe an Esteury Ruiz. That might be the only guy, position player, that you might be willing to move off of if there's not a role for him. Some of the other guys that you would want part of your mix, perhaps a trade for Ryan Ward if you're not planning to utilize him, although why would you add him to your roster if that's the case and limit his opportunities? With a lot of the pitchers, the 24 pitchers that are part of the roster, not including Shohei Ohtani, there's not really a whole lot of guys that you really want to move off of. Will Klein only has 1 minor league option, but is he somebody you want to move off of after his heroics during the postseason? There's a reason why the Dodgers traded for Paul Gervais, because he had swing and miss ability at the minor league level. Do they want to move off of him immediately? Do you want to move off of a player like a Bobby Miller who showcased really good ability at the minor league level in the past? Are you ready to move off of that trade? Are you wanting to move off of Anthony Banda because he has 0 minor league options? Or are you wanting to move off of potentially a Nick Frasso just because you're running out of time and he only has 1 minor league option left? You look up and down across this roster, there's not a whole lot of guys that stand out as guys you got to move off of. And you combine this with the fact that the Dodgers need to add at least 1 more bat and potentially a bench piece as well, like a Miguel Rojas that they have to bring back, or a Kike Hernandez, in which case those guys you can wait until after spring training starts potentially to add them to the mix, but you have to factor them into the overall roster situation. Combine them with the fact that the Dodgers need to add at least 1 reliever that is big league ready, that can go ahead and get right-handed hitters out, that at least 1, maybe 2, and perhaps some depth at the starting pitching as well, because we know how volatile the starting pitchers is, and seems to be a consistent history that the Dodgers have, is where they want to go out and add starting pitching to the mix. They are limited with roster spots, which means you can throw up your hands and say, don't add any of these guys that are at the minor league level. But you have to continue to invest in the talent in your organization. And some of the guys, especially if you're going to be relying upon some of these guys in the future, or you identify somebody with a unique talent like the Dodgers identified with Jack Dreyer last year. This is an important day to be able to add those guys, because tomorrow is the last day in order to completely protect them from the Rule 5 draft. Not all of these guys are going to be selected in the Rule 5 draft. It's possible that none of these guys are selected in the Rule 5 draft. But that bargain as to what that is going to happen has to be made tomorrow. So curious as to your thoughts. Perhaps some of the numbers stood out to some of you guys, or from some of the video that you've been able to see on each one of these guys. I'd be curious to see who you would protect if you were the Dodgers protecting some of these guys for the Rule 5 draft. Are you with me? Where do you want to protect guys like a Tibu, Jose Rodriguez, or Gary McDaniels, Ronan Kopp, Austin Gauthier? Or you want to protect Peter Hubeck, or somebody like, or you want to go down the list and protect somebody like a Ronaldo Yin, or a Maddox Bruns, or somebody like a Lucas Wept under the radar, Chris Newell, a lot of these different guys. Curious as to who you'd want to protect, and what you think the best move is going forward for the Los Angeles Dodgers to make their team right now and in the future as good as it possibly could be. Let's get into a couple of questions or comments in here. Justin Lamas, Noah Miller is a great defender. Only question is if he can hit. Joseph Martinez, do you think Jose Rodriguez could help the Dodgers pen as soon as next year? Love the show. Absolutely. Jose Rodriguez with his swing and miss ability, I don't think it'd be immediately right away, and it's dependent on his health as well. I know that he posted something on his story, which I follow him, he follows me back. That's not the reason why he's towards the top of the list that I have, or why I highlight him quite a bit. It's because of the talent that he actually has. He's a good friend of the show, been on the show before, but he posted something where he went in some sort of surgery or had some sort of boot on his foot. If he is healthy at the start of the season and he's able to continue to make the adjustments and he continues to showcase the swing and miss ability, as long as he's not being able to hit hard for contact, I think it is only a matter of time before you could see a Jose Rodriguez be able to fit into the mix. Now, it's going to be a really tough competition because you have some of the younger guys that were injured starting to come back, like a Gavin Stone and a River Ryan and a Kyle Hurt and some of these other guys that are question mark of whether they're going to be on the roster in Oklahoma City. So roster spot, difficult to be able to find the mix of being able to fit him in. But talent-wise, I think you look at his swing and strike percentage and his overall strikeout percentage, he very well could be somebody that could be added to the mix. Let's continue to go. Maybe a couple more comments right here. CNAV, will there be a show tomorrow? If so, time? Yes, I believe Casey and I are planning on doing a show tomorrow. Tomorrow night, it's going to be closer to 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, I believe is the time that we have, because I can't do any earlier than that. I've got Bible study that I got to help lead before then, and then we can go ahead and do the show. But especially if the Dodgers make some decisions, or the decisions that they don't make on the roster, we'll be covering that. It's possible there could be some additional moves, like what we saw with the move with Robinson, Ortiz, just to find room to be able to fit some of these guys. As we went through the entire list, you can see that there's a lot of players that are talented. Dodgers can't protect all of them, and that's actually a good thing because that potentially could provide an opportunity for any of these guys. That is really what I'm wishing for each guys on the list. Is I want each one of these guys to be able to find an opportunity at the big league level. And if the Dodgers can utilize them at the big league level, great. If not, the Rule 5 draft is a great opportunity for them to showcase some of their talent. It's a tough journey for a lot of these guys, very tough journey to be able to scratch and claw and get any opportunity at the show, as you can see with an example like a Ryan Ward. But if you earn it, you deserve it. And I think for a lot of these guys are earning it, and I hope for the best for their opportunities going forward. And the Los Angeles Dodgers have a very difficult decision to make over the course of the next 24 hours. Less than 24 hours to go. The Dodgers must make a decision of who to protect for the Rule 5 draft. We will be coming in that tomorrow, the decisions that the Dodgers make. Until then, I just want to say thank you to each one of you guys. If you want a little bit more in-depthness of each one of these guys, Casey has posted some interviews with the coaching staff. He's had the chance to be able to interview third base coach Chris Gutierrez, hitting coach Dylan Nishatka, pitching coach Dave Anderson, all last week. And they go into depth about some of the guys we were able to discuss. He's got some additional interviews coming up. He's doing a lot of stuff in regards to that. So there's a lot of good, exciting stuff. Be sure to pay attention to a lot of those interviews because that's far better stuff than what I'm able to produce, because you actually get to hear that from the people that actually work in this system and know it even better than what I think that I know about it. They do a tremendous job, and Casey does a very good job with those interviews. Be sure to check those out. Be sure to tune in here, Dodgers Daily, for any of the live streams that we have, any news that's able to break for the Los Angeles Dodgers. We'll try to be on as soon as we possibly can, and then be able to talk through the news with you guys throughout the course of this offseason. Baseball is still a couple months off, and it's a long couple months, but you guys make it a little bit better by being able to talk Dodgers baseball. Thank you guys again for being able to tune in, talk the Dodgers. Curious to see what the Dodgers do tomorrow. We will have to wait until then. Thank you for tuning in. God bless, and go Dodgers.